Greetings and salutations. I'm the fallen angel Christopher Daniels.
Hello, yes, Danhausen here to tell you, deliver a very nice, very evil message, if you will.
This is NXT superstar Dexter Lumis.
What's up, everybody? It's me, your buddy, your pal, Scott Stanford.
Hey, this is Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
This is the former intellectual savior of the masses, now known as Aaron Stevens, your NWA third-degree national champion.
This is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, the role model, and you are listening to Greg Morgan with Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And I want to tell you, Greg, your buddy Howie, also known as Wheezy, as you call him, he told me all about your channel. I'm here to tell everybody that I've seen it, I've watched it, I've looked at it. I went down the rabbit hole and I couldn't get out of it. It was so good.
Yeah, you better watch this channel. You better watch all the videos.
I'm about to go and watch a few videos myself.
Watch them 5 times a piece. That's right, I said 5 times a piece. Do it.
I know you've been a fan for like 40 years. I've only been doing it for 30, so I guess we're fans together there for 10 of it.
Do it.
He's not going to fill your head with bullshit. He's going to tell you real deal, what's up, and that's that.
Do it.
Good Mic Work is the place to be for all your wrestling information, guaranteed.
The best wrestling content is right here at Good Mic Work Commentary.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries on YouTube.
Subscribe, share, love, like, poke, whatever you need to do.
If you don't, we're gonna have a problem.
Love that, Danhausen. Love that Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Do it now. You're welcome.
We are just 48 hours away from all hell breaking loose here on the Good Mic Work Commentaries YouTube channel and WrestleMania week kicking off. But first, we got to do our Winged Eagle podcast for Saturday, April 3rd, 2021. Right on the doorstep of WrestleMania week. All the fun and games are going to begin basically Monday, but really on Tuesday. And it's going to be a whole lot of streaming here on the channel. And it's going to be a fun week, even though we're still not quite back in full swing yet in terms of reality. I think, and it's not our normal, typical WrestleMania season. It's definitely better than last year. And going to do our best here on the channel to make the most of it. And I think there is some potential here. We got a great-looking takeover coming up this week. We got the Hall of Fame. We got all sorts of stuff going on. Big weekend next weekend with WrestleMania's Night 1 and 2. A lot of news to get into in this podcast as well. We're going to touch on the great night of wrestling we had on Wednesday night. Last night's SmackDown, a few little added extra stipulations for WrestleMania coming in as well. Big news on next Friday's SmackDown. Really big letdown there. We'll talk about that as well. And the bombshell that broke yesterday, Chris Jericho actually filmed a Broken Skull Sessions podcast with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and that will air on the WWE Network or Peacock on April 11th, night 2 of WrestleMania. So that will be on and available to us prior to night 2 of WrestleMania. So that's a big one. And we got a lot to talk about next weekend. It's going to be wild. So anyway, we're going to set all that up here in this episode. We're going to get into the wrestling news. Like I said, we're going to talk a lot about the Jericho and Austin Broken Skull Sessions news that dropped and a little bit about that. We're going to talk about the Hall of Fame that did conclude its filming, I believe. Xbox shared some thoughts and details on that on his podcast. We'll talk about next week's WrestleMania edition of SmackDown, which is getting nothing but negative feedback so far from the wrestling fans. We got big A&E biography news from WWE coming up on April 18th. New Japan debuted its new heavyweight title to some mixed reviews. They have also unified their world title and intercontinental title. I'm not a fan of that. Not a fan of new belts in general. You guys know how I feel about that, and you're not going to be surprised about my opinions on that later on. And then Wednesday night gave us two really good shows. NXT set up TakeOver beautifully. NXT TakeOver is looking incredible. Night 1 and 2. I'm looking forward to both. So they did a really good job on Wednesday setting that up, and AEW was just bonkers. Off the charts. So I really enjoyed pretty much the final Wednesday Night Wars, the final true Wednesday Night Wars, because next Wednesday will be TakeOver. After that, NXT bumps to Tuesdays, and that's it. So it was fun while it lasted, but now these two brands are going to be running unopposed, and I am interested to see what those ratings turn out to be for both shows once this move is made. But AEW delivered one hell of a show on Wednesday. I was just entertained as hell by it, and I want to talk a little bit about that too. Then we'll wrap things up with last night's technically go home SmackDown. I mean, next week's SmackDown is going to be a little bit weird, and it's already been pre-taped. I believe they taped that yesterday, I think. I even think they taped tomorrow's Raw yesterday as well, I believe. So, I don't know what we're going to get next week or whatever, but really what we saw last night was kind of your setup, kind of like your go-home type of feel show to it. But not a really great show, but we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll run through the cards of both NXT TakeOver and WrestleMania and go through the details there, maybe offer up a little bit of speculation, maybe some predictions, some surprises, ideas, things like that, and we'll see where it goes, and I'll get some feedback from all of you guys as well. And I'm also going to run through what to expect from me. I finally now have my entire schedule figured out for WrestleMania. I knew I was going to be home all week. I just wasn't sure what reviews I was going to do, what watch-alongs or reactions, things like that. So I've got all that hammered out now. I'll share with you in just a second. And other than that, this will be the last stream until Monday. I originally had planned to come up here on Sundays and do watch-alongs, but tomorrow's Easter. I got to work all day. I need one good full day of prep to get ready for the crazy week of streaming that I'm going to have 8 days in a row, by the way. So nothing really going on the channel tomorrow. This will be it. And then everything, then it's balls to the wall starting Monday. So be here or be stupid. Anyway, let me go over to the chat and say hello to everybody who's here. Then we'll shout out the patrons, and I'll bust through my schedule if I can get my mouse to work. Where are you? Wrong screen. And I want to make sure I can be heard, which I can. I can also be seen, right? All right, we're looking good. If you guys can do me a favor, smash that thumbs up, because I want this to be a good week here on the channel, and it's going to be fun, man. WrestleMania week is always fun. Even last year, we made the best of it. I mean, it was not the ideal situation. It's still almost depressing to think about it. I'll never watch that WrestleMania again for as long as I live. Maybe the Boneyard match or something, but other than that, I ain't watching shit from that. And we've come a long way. Still not quite there yet, but, interesting. Shout out to Deshaun Robinson, who just a minute ago on Twitter tagged me in some drone footage of Raymond James. They're setting up the set. Looks pretty good. And it's going to be interesting to see what that all looks like next week. I'm excited. And then hopefully next year in Dallas, life is back to normal. WrestleMania season is back to normal. And we can start getting back to reality. How interesting is it that AEW really hasn't had to deal with a real, true WrestleMania season yet? I mean, even this WrestleMania season's been being panned by critics. I mean, we're all kind of like, oh, this build is shit. One of the worst built WrestleManias ever. And, what are they doing? A lot of stuff doesn't make sense and blah, blah, blah. So this isn't really a true one either. Plus, it's still 2 nights. It's still in the middle of a pandemic. AEW has not had to combat that yet. So they've actually been kind of lucky. But next year might be a completely different story there. But, like I said, lots to get into as it pertains to WrestleMania and WrestleMania week. Anyway, hello to everybody who's here. Stephen Taylor and Nate and Yo and Cerebrus, Zane, Comedic Genius, Daryl, Nikita, Mr. E, Michael Kumo, Deshaun's here, Madeline Feebush, good to see you, FRGN, Barry MK with the $5 drop. Chris Benoit's name is in the description of Raw's in 2004 on Peacock. It's really funny and sad. Somebody DM'd me something similar, Barry, or was that you? Oh, that was you. So, yeah, and I saw that. Oh, that was Raw from 2004. Okay, yeah, his name, Benoit's name is in there. I don't know. I don't know what to make of any of that. Putting it, I'm sure that's stuff that might just kind of settle as things get, more introduced to Peacock. Whoa, I'm going to turn my mic off. As things get and content gets more introduced, maybe, some of the stuff will start to settle down and you won't see some of that and they'll make these changes. I don't know in the long term, but yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be pointing out all the flaws in Peacock. Because Peacock's on everybody's shit list. George Morris, super generous $10 from you. Good to see you. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? Retromania Wrestling is awesome, and so is Resident Evil 7 for Google Stadia, and me and my girlfriend were at Walmart, and people were farting and cussing and bad hygiene odor. Yeah, that's typical for Walmart. I mean, when I go into a Walmart, I expect 3 things: farting, cursing, and bad body odor. I usually get all 3 of them. Sometimes I get some extras. Maybe some, exposed ass cracks. You want some flowers for that vase? Or, maybe a skid mark or 2. At least somebody's going to be in there barefooted. So, yeah, that's Walmart for you. Be careful in there, George. We're all praying for you to exit Walmart alive. Got you, Barry. Sonic Plays is here as well. Sanel T, Charlie Booth, David Brown is here. All right. Father Adrian. Good to see everybody in here hanging out. We should have a fun podcast today. It's going to be right around the 2-hour mark, and then I got to bolt out of here and get to work. I've been working my nutsack off all week long in anticipation of me being off all week, because luckily with my job, I can pretty much set my own schedule. So I told my work, hey, guess what? Y'all ain't going to see me for 8 days because I have to watch men wrestle in their underwear. And some of them are going to go into the Underwear Hall of Fame as well. So you ain't going to see me for 8 days, and that's that. So in order to make up for that, I've been working a lot this week, and I got to do that dreaded Easter brunch. For those of you in the wrestling business know how insane that can be. So wish me luck that I even make it to WrestleMania week after what I'm going to have to deal with tomorrow. And the weather's looking good, so it's going to be even crazier and nuttier for the Easter holiday. Happy Easter weekend to everybody out there who's off of work or doing some extra stuff for a holiday weekend. I hope you're having a great one, and I hope wherever you live it's very, very pleasant. Deshaun, appreciate 5 from you, dude. I know it's early in the construction, but it kind of looks like there won't be a long ramp this year, maybe because of the lack of fans. Okay, yeah, I didn't get a good look at it, but yeah, that would make sense. I mean, what's the point of having a mile-long ramp when, just to walk down in front of lights, you know what I mean? So I trust that's one thing WWE might lack in a lot of their creative and a lot of their build and a lot of just, stuff that wrestling fans actually want to see. That's what WWE kind of sucks at, but what they're good at is production shit, and I fully trust them. Yes, sometimes they get lazy. We don't do the pay-per-view sets or anything like that anymore, but they can bust out a good WrestleMania set when they want to, and they can certainly adapt to their environment, and I trust them to come up with something pretty awesome looking for WrestleMania. So I'm not too concerned about that in terms of how it's going to look. I think most of the time they're going to do a pretty A-plus job on that stadium. Plus, I think WWE is really taking this back-to-business type of attitude seriously. And it's going to be a big deal just to have fans there reacting. Let me ask you this. I've been thinking about it all week, and it didn't even hit me until a few days ago. And it didn't hit me when they announced Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil as the hosts. I was kind of just like, what the fuck? But I didn't think about one crucial factor here, is that who is going to get that very first entrance in front of fans? Is it going to be a match, or is it going to be the goddamn WrestleMania host? And no, it won't be Titus O'Neil. I don't want the very first entrance in front of fans to be wasted on Terry Bollea. I mean, and we're going to get that, aren't we? I 100% guarantee we're going to get that. If it was up to me, I'd probably give it to Drew. I'd maybe do Bobby Lashley and McIntyre, right, kicking off the show. They did Seth and Brock a couple years back, didn't they? What's the difference? Give Drew that moment, the first person coming out to fans. He seems like the best option in terms of who's on your roster and working on night one. I do McIntyre, but something tells me it's going to be Mr. Terry. Ugh, God. Anywho, in terms of, actually, let me knock out these last 2 super chats, and then I'll let you guys know what we're going to be doing next week. AJ, thank you for $5 from you as well. What's up, Greg? Glad to be hanging out with you on my birthday today. Happy birthday to AJ. Everybody wish that man a happy birthday. He has been a great, loyal listener for a long time, even sponsored to have a review done not long ago. We all love Antoine. Thanks for being here, man. Happy birthday to you. And I'm glad I'm glad it happens to be your birthday on a podcast day. Yeah, WrestleMania 5 was just a big screen, but it was still a big ass screen. It's a big ass screen, still looked good. So yeah, that one wasn't one of the best, but you know what I'm saying in general. Don't look for the one that's bad and all the ones that are good. Think about all the good ones they had too. So I think they're probably going to, because you got to remember last year they had all this shit planned and probably built. So they're probably going to be reusing, I would hope, or recycling a lot of those ideas since it was supposed to be in the same building anyway. So I'm hoping a lot of stuff that they built, paid for, or produced or constructed last year is going to be kind of, hopefully worked into this year's set in some way. So I think it'll probably look pretty unique, and it's going to be interesting how they make the fans and space it out and still make it look good visually, because WWE, if there's one thing they love, it's those over the head crowd shots and those long sweeping shots of thousands of people there. They're not going to get that this time. So they're going to have to do their best to kind of recreate that feel as best they can with the limited capacity. But I have heard nothing, or not read, I'm sure it's out there, but I haven't read about the amount of tickets that have been sold. I've not heard the numbers or seen the numbers on this yet. We'll talk about that a lot this week because, like I said, 8 days in a row here on the channel. So anyway, here's what we got going on for WrestleMania week coming up. It's going to start, the festivities here on this channel start Monday. So basically you can expect to see me every single night all the way through the following Monday. Unfortunately, I probably won't be here for the first NXT on Tuesday. As a matter of fact, after the post-WrestleMania Raw, I'm probably going to be done for the week, take a week off to recover, and then come back full swing the following Monday. So I probably won't even do a podcast that weekend, but that's still up in the air. I'll let you guys know. But other than that, it's going to be Monday to Monday here on the channel. So this Monday, immediately following Raw, the Go Home Raw, we'll be up here to talk about it. I don't anticipate Monday's Raw to be very good, so hopefully you guys will still come and hang out and join us, and we'll talk about whatever we have to talk about and offer a few final previews for WrestleMania. That will be Monday night. Tuesday, we've got the Hall of Fame. So after that airs on Peacock, we'll be up here on the channel doing a full review of the Hall of Fame, so that'll be fun. Wednesday and Thursday, of course, NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver, night 1 and 2. I'm going to do reviews for both, so we're not going to bother with a reaction. I'll be up here after night 1 and after night 2, Wednesday and Thursday. Then Friday, we got that crazy-ass SmackDown Super WrestleMania show, or whatever the fuck they're calling it, which we'll talk about those details in a minute. And we'll be reviewing that, and I'll be offering WrestleMania predictions for both night 1 and 2 on Friday night after SmackDown. Saturday, night 1 of WrestleMania, we're going to live react. We did this last year for the 2-night event. I live reacted on Saturday, and then we did a full review after night 2 of both nights on Sunday. I like that format. We're going to do that again. We'll make Saturday night a fun night. We'll react to night 1. We'll hang out. We'll talk about it after the fact, but I'll save my full, like podcast style review for after night 2 when we kind of review both. So that'll be the plan, and no kickoff or anything like that. I'll just be up here for the main card for night 1 on WrestleMania on Saturday. So links to all of this stuff will start appearing on the channel tomorrow. Tomorrow night, Easter night, I'll be staying up and kind of getting all that stuff prepped and ready for the week. So start keeping a lookout for those links on the channel. Set your notifications, subscribe, all that shit. It's going to be wild. And then, of course, after night 2 of WrestleMania, we do our review. The following night, post-WrestleMania Raw, back in the Thunderdome, assumingly at the Yuengling Center, which is the rumor on the street. We'll be up here for a review of that as well. And then the night after that is NXT's first night on Tuesdays, but I'm going to have to get back into work on that day, so I'm probably going to miss that and won't be able to talk about that until the following week. So it's going to be a fun week. I'm stoked for that. One final piece of business before we get into the wrestling news. Shout out the current subscribers on Patreon. A brand new subscriber just coming in, or a supporter, Sam Piboon. Thank you very much. We got JJ Leg as well. I believe that's JJ. Yeah, JJ Leg, Darren Piper, Nikita Abalakin, Chris Miner, Super Fluffy Toaster, Deshaun Robinson, who is here, J Smooth 99, Martin Can, Alex Dredge, Apron Bump, Alan Carter, Brandon Yelverton, Michael Tong, Nick Musser, Jimmy Anderson, K-Dog's Kennel, who has a review coming up later on this month, Ryan Y, Devlin Husband, John Redifer, Claudio Clavidetcher, Daniel Rodriguez, Barry MK, Josiah, Mr. Steve, Scott Moss, Michael Kumo, Naveed, Keith Salyers, Nathan Walker, and Blake Moran. Thank you, as always, for the patronage. Now we got to get into the wrestling news. Let me get everything back to where I want it to be. 100 or so people in here, not horrible. Do me a favor, smash the like button for me, and we'll get down to business here and start talking about the very big news that broke this week about Chris Jericho on Broken Skull Sessions. Holy shit. We did not see this coming at all. By the way, any super chats that are coming in now, I will answer here in just a few minutes after we talk about the Jericho stuff. And, actually, why don't we just knock this out right now, because this is a good one. Fitness Night 27, appreciate the 5 from you. What's up, Greg? Been a fan for 7 years. Nice. Also beat COVID much better now ready for Mania. Glad to hear it. Congrats on that. Anybody else who has had to deal with COVID or getting COVID-19, I hope you have recovered and dealt with it okay. I've got shot 2 coming up on April 15th. I heard shot 2 is gnarly, so I'm hoping that I don't get too knocked out of commission from that. But once that's done, I'm done with my vaccination. So best of luck to you, Fitness Night. Glad you're here. And best of luck to everybody. Remember a year ago when this all happened? How fucking crazy it's been. Come a long way, man. Anyway, let's get into the news. So yesterday, it was announced that out of the blue, nobody saw this coming, just blindsided us all in the face collectively, that Chris Jericho actually filmed a Broken Skull Sessions with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and that will be airing on the WWE Network on April 11th, which is night 2 of WrestleMania. So it's a week from tomorrow, which is crazy. So nobody saw this coming. This is AEW and WWE coming together. Nobody really knew what to make of this yesterday. It was so completely shocking, but also so fucking awesome. This is a really cool new world that we're living in wrestling. And Jericho, of course, he's got a ton of history with WWE. He is a perfect guest to come on. that, none of that is surprising. He would be a guy that would be similar to an Undertaker or a Randy Orton or, a Kurt Angle or Bret Hart, one of these major stars to come on there and talk about their career. Problem is, he works for the competition, AEW. And the fact that this was able to come together and everybody got blessings from both sides and this interview was shot and done is pretty incredible. And I'm really excited to see it. Now, most of us, as soon as we saw this news, I think the biggest thing that hit everybody, we were like, how, but how, how can you do this? How is this fucking possible? Because it is pretty crazy. But we got the details on that because Stone Cold Steve Austin did an interview with Sports Illustrated where he discussed the details of how all this came together. So I'm going to quote you this some of this transcript here from sportsillustrated.com. Austin says, "I was having a beer one night after my Broken Skull Sessions interview with The Undertaker aired, and out of the blue, Chris Jericho reached out and said, 'Man, that was a great interview.' Austin says, 'I sent him back a couple of those emojis, one of a beer mug and the other of an eagle, and then he called me right then and there. We got to talking. I've always respected the hell out of his career, and I'm glad they're around.' Speaking of AEW, that is. It gives the guys and girls in professional wrestling more places to work. I'd love to have you on the show," I said. He said he'd love to do it, so I checked with Vince about it. Austin goes on to say, he said, "I texted Vince, and we had this badass idea about Jericho coming on the show. And Vince goes, 'It's cool, go ahead.' But me and Vince don't always do well with phone and text and all that, so I texted him one more time. 'Are you sure it's okay to have Chris Jericho on the show?' Vince gave me the thumbs up, and Chris came out to do the show. I mean, if I was Austin, I would have texted him like 2 more times. I'm like, 'Are you really sure that this is okay?' Because I'd hate to film this and then you get pissed." So anyway, Vince kind of gave the blessing there. Austin would go on to say, "We got into everything in terms of the podcast and what they discussed. We go into everything. Jericho is one of the all-time greats, and it's going to be cool to have someone from AEW on a WWE show. To bottom line it, I'm excited for the people to watch this show." I can't wait to see this because it sounds like nothing is off the table. It's not like they're going to ignore AEW. I think most fans are going to be tuning in to hear a lot of those details, but you got to remember, Chris Jericho's had a 30-year career prior to getting to AEW. Much of that was in WWE. You would think they're going to spend a lot of time. He could easily be a 2-parter, with all the different chapters in his life, prior to WWE, then during WWE, his time away from WWE, coming back to WWE, leaving WWE, Fozzy, everything, all that wrapped up into one. There's a lot to, there's a lot of meat on that bone. So they could have done a 2 or 3-parter here. So it's probably, I guess, going to be, 2-hour job or whatever the other ones are. And they're going to be talking a lot about his career, I'm sure. And eventually, by the time they get to the end of it, they will be talking about him going to AEW, what led to that. And Jericho has talked about this in other interviews, in terms of, him talking to Vince before he went and things like that. So, and we talked about that a couple years ago when AEW started. I said, WWE might take some shots at them. That's all part of the fun. But I certainly don't for a minute believe WWE is afraid. And that's what got, the fans got so excited when AEW started. Oh, WWE's afraid. I'm like, I don't think it really works that way. I don't think fans really understand how far deep WWE's claws are dug into this world. They ain't going anywhere. The best any company has to look forward to, or the best chance they have of anything, is just being a competitor to them, which is what AEW is. They got a cable TV deal. Can't get any better than that. All you can do is grow from there. We're going to be talking about AEW here in a little bit with all these factions and a lot of people's opinions on that shit too. So, once you start having that division amongst the fans, then you get the other sides, just like we heard in TNA years ago. Oh, they're going to put WWE out of business. You got to be a delusional fucking maniac to think that. It's not really the case. And I think WWE probably internally, even though they don't want a lot of their guys, of course, jumping ship or them doing anything to make WWE look bad, and there's going to be that competition there, maybe even some shots being taken at each other back and forth. We saw that at the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago when Triple H had Billy Gunn, who was an AEW employee, get inducted into the Hall of Fame and called him a pissant company and, just joked with him a little bit. Jericho was wearing the Demo God t-shirt just as a troll. Of course, fans ate it up, got all freaked out and started, they're just rabid. The fans are just ripping each other's heads off, when in reality, behind the scenes, the real story probably is that WWE and AEW are cool with each other. There might be a time where there's going to have to be some cooperation from those two. It would be in the fans' best interest for these two to remain at least on decent terms. You don't have to be on great terms. Think about Vince McMahon and Dana White. And technically, they're kind of competitors, but they're kind of also cool with each other. Dana White's been to WrestleMania. We've had some crossover stars with Brock and Ronda. Neither side's in love with the other, but they respect the other. And I think that AEW and WWE probably have that similar type of relationship, to where maybe, just maybe, there could be situations where, I'm not saying doing full-blown invasions or anything like that. I mean, anything's possible now. AEW's working with everybody. I'm sure they'd love to work with WWE. I don't think there'd be anything like that going on, too much cross-promotion, at least not yet. But maybe little tiny things. Maybe AEW requests just a piece of footage from WWE to use in something, in a video package, and WWE lets them do it. And maybe down the line when they need a favor from AEW, they need to put somebody that's currently on their roster into the Hall of Fame or something. They do that, much like the deal that went down with WWE and TNA years ago where they sent Christian back for that one night to get Flair. So I think it's in all of our best interest to have these two companies be able to communicate with each other when they have to. Yes, they're competition, but let's be real. As much as I love AEW, and I'm going to put them over like hell here in a minute with one of my favorite Dynamites in a while on Wednesday, you got to be realistic to where they are. And they are not a true threat to WWE at all. Yes, they're kind of a competitor. They did a pretty good job of beating NXT in the ratings, but NXT and Raw and SmackDown and main roster and WWE's just mainstream influence that they have is really going to be tough to beat, and we'll see how their numbers do unopposed and where they can go from here. But I don't think there's any reason for really the fans to be at each other's throats, because you can like one more than the other. There is really nothing wrong with that at all. But to insist that the one you like is the only one that should be liked by anybody is a little bit fucking stupid. And when I saw this picture of Austin, I had to use for the thumbnail of Austin and Jericho, to me, it's like this proverbial handshake, between the two companies, no hard feelings. You exist. Let's come together. Let's be real. AEW does not have a Ted Turner or an Eric Bischoff there that is hell-bent on beating WWE and putting them out of business. It's fine to want to be the number one. That attitude needs to exist in AEW. They need to want to be number one. What they need not worry about is putting WWE out of business, because that's not going to happen. And if they start focusing on that more than actually being number one, they're going to die, which is why WCW died, with a lot of other factors that led to that. So I think we're in a different age now. We're in a different, we're just in a different climate in wrestling. And I think it's in everybody's best interest to at least be able to communicate and shit like that. And the fact that Vince was like, yeah, go ahead. Everybody thinks Vince is so uptight about AEW. This is WWE's way of almost like flexing their muscles a little bit, almost like saying, we are not scared of you. Bring your fucking top star over here. We do not care. We don't need the publicity from you. If anything, this is good for AEW, which was why I'm sure Tony Khan had no issue with it, because I think Jericho got permission from him too, or at least a blessing. But at the same time, Jericho is Jericho. And if there's one guy that would be able to do something like this, I would think it's him. I'm sure when he signed with AEW, he's got some perks in that contract. He is not going to be controlled by AEW the same way WWE tries to control a lot of their stars. Jericho's a veteran now who's not going to be signing his life away for anything. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need the money. He's there to try to help AEW out and get them started. So I'm sure he's got language in his contract that says, look, I'm here for you guys, but I can do whatever the fuck I want, just so you know. So I wouldn't be surprised if he could have done this anyway. But the fact that Khan gave his blessing, Vince gave his blessing, there was no hesitation there, is pretty cool, and we've seen little tastes of this. Remember when Conrad and Bruce had that brief little stint on the WWE Network and they were using a lot of TNA footage? We've seen a lot of TNA footage and AJ Styles stuff and shit like that. So we've seen little tastes of this, which has been like kind of shocking. And now something like this, something that's so current. Jericho's, recently kind of turned babyface. He had a great segment with the Inner Circle and Pinnacle on Wednesday. He's still very much in the mix in top storylines in AEW and a featured weekly star on their show, and he's coming on. It's not like he's a year out of the business or he's been on the shelf in AEW for months and months or anything like that. He is there every week. So that's really cool. So it's going to be just interesting to see that dynamic and to hear them talk and hear everything that they're talking about. And WWE must really be thinking a lot of this interview as well, because they're releasing it on a huge day, WrestleMania weekend, not some random middle of the fucking summer week or whatever when nothing's going on their biggest day. And I'm not going to say you should totally rule it out, but let me just throw this out there. I would not 100% rule out Jericho at least showing his face at WrestleMania. Maybe he's in the crowd. Maybe he's in a box. Maybe they show the advertisement for Broken Skull Sessions and a commercial and an ad spot on WrestleMania. or something, but maybe physically actually be there, maybe even a run in if you want to get crazy. So I'd say like 98 to 99% no on that. But hell, there's that one chance. What a way to promote the podcast, especially if he shows up on night one, right? Which would be Saturday. If he turns up Saturday or something and maybe cuts a promo, hey, check me out tomorrow on Broken Skull Sessions or something. Like, you talk about a crossover, holy shit. And if there's ever a time to really surprise the fans, we got nothing else going on at WrestleMania. No Taker, no Brock, no big legends, no returns, no Brett, no Shawn, no Austin at this point. Nothing like that. You know how that, WrestleMania 19 when you had Hogan and Vince and Piper showed up out of nowhere, something like that. Something just for fun that would make the fans, we need that Undertaker just lost the streak moment. And it doesn't have to mean anything. It doesn't have to mean that WWE and AEW are now working together and we're going to get an invasion storyline. Just Jericho being there. Jericho going into the ring and hitting Owens with the fucking code breaker and helping Sami Zayn beat him or something. Or that might be a night 2 match. But something like that, just quick in there, whatever. And then who knows, maybe it can lead to, Jericho making even more history. Maybe it can lead to WWE and AEW saying, we're not going to do an invasion angle or a working agreement, but we want Jericho for one match. And we'll give you so-and-so for fucking one match. And they just do it once or something. I don't know. But Jericho being on the Broken Skull Sessions, I wouldn't rule out anything. I think everything is on the table. WWE doesn't seem to be too quick to work with other companies. It's really not their style. But, times are changing. Every year that goes by, Vince gets older and older, and who knows, when there is a changing of the guard someday in the future in WWE, maybe when Triple H says, we're always open for business, even though he's full of shit, maybe that will actually be true, and this is a big, kind of little step. I'm not going crazy about it. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's just it's just a podcast. It's mostly going to be irrelevant in the, in the grand scheme of things in wrestling, but it's not something you should just blow off either, because who knows what this can spark. And if this turns out to be WWE's best watched or most watched episode, which I think it will be on the Broken Skull Sessions, how is WWE not going to want to get a little another taste of that? They had Undertaker there for 2 parts. Maybe Austin calls up Jericho, hey, let's do part 2, or something. So, and maybe they can run an angle from there. I don't know. So I'm not getting too excited in terms of them really working together, but to me, this is a big step. And, you talk about breaking down a wall. Holy shit. The forbidden door has been opened, and maybe there can be more dialogue back and forth in the future between these two companies. And who knows what the future holds? This could all be the beginning of it. We might have some crazy shit happen 2 or 3 years from now, and they'll look back and say, it all started that time that Jericho was on Broken Skull Sessions. Or this means dick in the grand scheme of things, and, we just go on as business as usual. But it's WrestleMania. I feel like we need a surprise. I feel like we need something on night 1 or night 2 that we're like, we did not know that was going to happen. And having Jericho just hit the ring, hit a code breaker on someone might. And I think the idea of him helping Sami Zayn win would be great with Sami's whole conspiracy theory shit. I think that might be a good place to insert Jericho if he was going to show his face, or just have him sit there in the crowd. Like, at TakeOver, when there's always that new signee in the crowd, just have Jericho just sitting there and the camera just shows him and the fans are like, holy shit, just to show him. Just to show him, get chatter going. Doesn't have to mean anything. Just get buzz. Get us all talking. And that's what the announcement, that the podcast hasn't even aired yet. We haven't even seen it. It's not for a week. And already it's, top topic of discussion with most podcasts right now. So anyway, I would have came up and done a whole separate video on that, but I've been working my butt off when we got that news. So I figured that was just going to have to wait until today, but that's pretty cool. So anyway, Jericho on Broken Skull Sessions next Sunday. In terms of when we're going to talk about that, I will definitely watch that before WrestleMania Night 2. I'll try to get that knocked out as soon as it becomes available on the network. I'll watch that. That way, when we're up here doing the review for night 2, I will at least be able to talk about it and what was discussed. So we'll get to it. And if for any reason I can't get to it or something, then we'll talk about it on the following Monday. But we'll be talking about it a lot. And real no point to do a separate video on that because so much is going to be happening that day. Listen to what's going on. April 11th, 1 week from tomorrow. We've got Jericho on the Broken Skull Sessions. We've got night 2 of WrestleMania, which also happens to be the 10-year anniversary of when Edge retired on SmackDown. So that's going to play a big role into whether or not he's going to win that title. And it also happens to be the 11-year anniversary of this channel. So we're going to have a big celebration on April 11th with a lot to talk about. Big WrestleMania, Austin and Jericho. I'll be cracking open something. Maybe so. Oh, man, that would be good. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to crack open a bottle of bubbly, and a Broken Skull IPA, drink them together. That's what we'll do. So anyway, that's a big night, and it's going to be a celebration here on the channel. So holy shit, Mania Week is going to be a blast. Before we get into the Hall of Fame news that we've got, let me just cruise over here, knock out a couple of more super chats that I know were rolling in as I was flapping my gums, because Sean Waltman spoke on his Pro Wrestling for Life podcast and offered some details on the Hall of Fame and the filming and how it all went down. So we'll talk about that in just one second. Let's see. I got you, Fitness Night. The Comedic Genius YouTube or YT is here. Thanks for the $2, dude. Hello, and have a happy Easter to you too, man. Thank you for that. Joshua Aparicio is here with $5. Happy Easter, Greg. Have you seen the new Space Jam trailer today? I have not. You want to hear something fucked up? I never saw the first Space Jam. I remember it. Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny and shit. There's like a Michael Jackson song or something, but I never saw it. I suck, and which is weird because I was a big NBA fan back in those days, but I don't know. I just didn't see it. Still haven't seen it. I'm an idiot. Zane G, what's up, dude? Appreciate the very generous $20 drop there. I'm watching the Jericho on Raw back in 99. I was thinking with the countdown starting at 678 hours, wouldn't WWE have to try so damn hard to make sure Jericho's clock doesn't interrupt an ongoing match? They, if I remember right, back in 1999, Zane, that clock was not accurate. Like when they... Because I remember when they first did the clock, when we first saw it, right off the bat, even in those days, I was calling hotlines and shit, people were already doing the math. And it was I don't think the date matched up. They kind of changed the clock to make it count down to that segment they were on. So I do think they did change it a little bit. I don't think they had that idea all the way that planned out when the countdown started. So I do believe it was altered a bit for it to end when The Rock happened to be in the ring. But yeah, if you trace it back and do the math, I don't think that would have added up correctly. A-Level, appreciate the very nice $10 from you as well, man. Hey, Greg, been a while. Hope you are doing well and in good health. Great to see Jericho on Austin's podcast. Have a great Easter weekend. You too, man. I'm excited for that podcast. And I am doing well and hoping that I remain in good health. So far, so good. But I appreciate you being here. And another one from Barry, $2. Bailey should do her talk show with Chris at WrestleMania. There you go. There you go. That's the perfect fucking thing to do. Just an appearance of some kind. Bailey, I'm like losing my mind, the fact that she's not involved at WrestleMania, at least right now. She's not penciled in for anything, which is fucked up. So maybe she does a surprise ding dong hello. Surprise guest on night one. And it turns out to be Jericho. That would be fabulous. Yes, absolutely. Jericho on Ding Dong Hello. I'm into that. We'll see. It's a fabulous idea. Hey, Jay, I'm a grown man. Think I'm about to randomly watch a kid's movie. Yeah, luckily I don't have any young kids. Otherwise, I'd be watching probably a lot of kids' movies. But who's in the new Space Jam? Like LeBron and shit? But even back then, like it, it was still a combination. I don't know if it was all kids. Still had athletes in it. But yeah, I just never saw it. Greg is awesome, and so is everyone in the chat. I agree, Ben. Everybody here is awesome. All right, let's get into this Hall of Fame news. This was courtesy of Sean Waltman, who's got a podcast, Pro Wrestling for Life, and he talked about the Hall of Fame and the filming of that. Now, we did see the photo that was released a couple of days ago after one of the filmings that had like Hogan and Titus and the NWO, and I think the Bellas were in there. I forgot who else. Davey, it looked like Diana was there. Diana looked great, along with Georgia and Junior to induct him. And I guess there's another group the following day that they had taped or whatever. But X-Pac was in that group, and he said that they had to be there at like 7 a.m. to go through the rehearsals and everything. So it was kind of rough, having to be there like that early to do this bullshit and have to be in like suit and tie at that time of day. But once they got going, it taped really quickly. And the biggest news to come out of this was that there are no inductors this year. So basically, everybody's induction is done via video package, which just sucks. I mean, I'm just sad about the Hall of Fame. I just loved the Hall of Fame. I used to love it before. I still do. And I'm sure WWE will make this look very good. Yeah, obviously, it's a virtual Hall of Fame. It's different because of the pandemic. But even a couple of years ago, before the pandemic, I was not a fan of that new setup in the ring with the podium. Bret Hart got tackled by that crazy fan. I did not like that setup at all. And I really wanted it to go back to the way it was. But I don't think they ever will. But now, who knows what this is going to look like. I'm sure it's still going to be very nice. It's still going to be very cool to see some of these, people be inducted, but we're not going to get any of these like fun, long, drawn out Hall of Fame speeches. Sometimes they can go on a little bit too long, but sometimes they can just be so much fun. And apparently they're all given like 3 to 5 minutes for their speeches. This is going to be an empty shell of a Hall of Fame. It's really not going to feel the same, but we'll be up here reviewing it anyway. Like I said, I'm sure it'll still be good because there is a lot of people going in these two classes. And hopefully that next year, when everything hopefully gets back to normal and in Dallas, they do a regular Hall of Fame. Hopefully it's set up a little bit better than what they're probably going to do here and the way it was prior to the pandemic with that terrible new setup. Hopefully I'm kind of a Hall of Fame snob. I want my Hall of Fame to be fun, and it's one of the things I look forward to on WrestleMania weekend, and I am now in the 3rd straight year in a row that I've just not really given too much of a fuck about the Hall of Fame, and that's a shame. But either way, we're up here talking about it Tuesday night. Sounds like it's going to be a very video package heavy program. We got to talk about here's some more disappointing news. We got to talk about next week's SmackDown, which is supposed to be the go-home show that they are now branding as a WrestleMania edition SmackDown. And they're bumping 2 WrestleMania matches from WrestleMania over to this SmackDown, which is insane because WrestleMania is a 2-night show. You mean to tell me on those 2 nights, which later on we're going to get into that full card, and I think I only count like 6 matches on each show. So these are going to be relatively short shows, I think, for night 1 and 2. You mean in all that you couldn't find a spot for these, and you're trying to build your SmackDown up into a better rating or something like that? Maybe you're using this to do it, but this sucks. You're putting WrestleMania. This sucks for the people in these matches. They should be able to be at Raymond James Stadium too and be in front of fans for the first time and be outside and just be able to experience that. And instead moving this to SmackDown is such a huge disappointment because it doesn't matter. Why are you even who cares? Just do a regular go home show on SmackDown. So basically it also looks like they're probably doing this because one or both of these matches would probably be kickoff matches anyway. And I think WWE wants to have the first match in front of fans to be kind of a big deal, not a kickoff match. So I can understand that. But then I think you should just do away with kickoff matches and put everything on the main cards. So instead, they're basically using SmackDown on Friday as the kickoff to do their matches they don't care much about, which will be the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, how far that thing has fallen, and a fatal 4-way tag team title match with Otis and Gable taking on the Street Profits, the Mysterios, and the tag team champions Dirty Dogs. So Rude and Ziggler have to defend in the fatal 4-way, and that right there tells me that we're probably not going to see Ray and Dominic win the tag team titles. What a jip. I mean, they might still, but man, that's something that if you were going to do that and you're going to give that moment to Ray and Dominic, do that in the stadium, man, you assholes. So I don't know. I think they taped this last night, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Don't spoil anything for us. I'll read the spoilers later this week as I don't give a shit about spoilers, especially with something as ridiculous as this. So I don't know if the Mysterios win the tag titles or not, but I'm going to say no, because I think if WWE was going to give them that moment, they would do it in front of the live audience because that would be a big deal for them. So with them not doing that, then I'd say they're probably not going to win. But that was what I thought the direction they were going in on TV felt like. They were going to put the tag belts on Ray and Dominic, and why not? The tag team titles are a complete afterthought on SmackDown. They mean nothing, even though I kind of like this Rude and Ziggler team. You don't need these tag team titles. You don't even need them. Just do the floating title like the women. I'd be a much happier person. But that's just a big disappointment that the tag titles are not going to be on the show, because I was looking forward to Rey Mysterio and Dominic kind of having that moment for them at WrestleMania in front of an audience. Very historic show. First one back, and they get to experience that together. That's awesome. So I wanted that for them, and that's probably not going to happen now. And if it does, it's going to be a bummer that it didn't happen in front of the audience. So either way, this is a lose-lose and a very disappointing situation. Shame on you, WWE. And then the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, which has been a complete fucking disaster ever since it started. Think of how great it turned out, or what a great start it got off to at WrestleMania 30. On the 30th WrestleMania, inaugural Battle Royal. From now on, this is going to be a staple of WrestleMania. We're bringing Battle Royals back to WrestleMania, naming them after the king of Battle Royals. We'll make it a big deal. We'll give the winner a push. I thought this was one of the best ideas they've ever had. Finally, a Battle Royal not only that means something, It also tributes one of the biggest legends ever in WWE, someone with a lot of early WrestleMania experience, and kind of one of the godfathers of the company. And then you can also use it as a way to springboard guys or use it as a stepping stone for some talent to maybe get over and get a push. And it started that way with Cesaro body slamming the Big Show over the top rope. Couldn't have thought of a more appropriate winner or finish for that very first Battle Royal. And literally ever since then, it has sucked. And now WWE just has completely given up on the concept, and now they've bumped it to a taped SmackDown. Jesus, WWE. Ugh. This company, I swear. So I don't give a fuck who wins it. I don't care at all. I don't care. I don't care who wins. Literally don't care. Could be anybody. And I'm going to go right on with my day and not even bat an eye at it. So that's a shame. We'll be up here talking about that too. Doesn't this sound fun? We'll be up here next Friday talking about this nonsense, and then we'll be doing our full WrestleMania predictions after that. We've got some A&E biography news. I didn't talk about this when it was announced last month because I kind of forgot, but WWE is partnering up again with A&E to do some more biographies on past and current WWE stars or former WWE stars. And there's going to be 8 of them premiering April 18th. These are going to be 2-hour-long documentaries, so they're going all in on this. And it's going to be done on Bret Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Roddy Piper, Ultimate Warrior, Booker T, Mick Foley, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Shawn Michaels. Those are great. Now, for those of you who might remember, WWE did business with A&E about 20-some years ago. Back in, I think it was 99, they did a series of biographies on the A&E channel. I think these were only an hour. And if I remember right, I don't remember all of them, but I'm pretty sure I know they did one on Owen Hart. That one was my favorite. And Martha was a big part of that. She was interviewed. And this was just a year or so after he died. Pretty close to after he died is when I think they did this. I want to say it was 99 or 2000 or something like that. So she was a big part of that and was interviewed a lot and gave a lot of details on their life and stuff. And that was a pretty tough episode to watch. But I also think they did one on Steve Austin. They did one on Mick Foley. Triple H was interviewed for something. I can't remember if they did one on him or if maybe they did one on DX or something like that. And I think they did one on Jesse the Body Ventura because right around that time he was, he was governor of Minnesota. So they did these back in the day. I taped them all. I have them on recorded DVDs. From back in the day. I've got them all, but they're going to be doing these again 20-something years later. They're going to be a little bit longer and probably a lot more detailed, and these should be good. These should be, I think, as good as the stuff that we see from Dark Side of the Ring. These should be really good biographies, so I'm excited for these to premiere on April 18th. I'm going to DVR them all, and we'll watch them all. We'll talk about them as I start knocking them out. What do you guys think of the New Japan title? Not a fan. Somebody had a hilarious mock-up. It's the same shape. It almost looks like a Divas title, like a butterfly type of thing, but it also looks a lot like Cody Rhodes' neck tattoo if you just filled in the colors. Not a fan of it. I didn't think there was anything wrong with the belts they had. They, they still symbolize greatness to me, and much like they did in 2002 in WWE, I'm like, why the hell are they unifying the world in the Intercontinental? I like the Intercontinental title there. And I didn't want to see them do away with it, but now they've merged the belts. There's now a new title, and you guys know how I feel about new titles. I generally always hate them. Sometimes I will warm up to them, but my usual initial response is negative. This belt doesn't necessarily look bad, and that's basically the problem with every championship, is that I think what puts a sour taste in my mouth is when they replace a championship that I already liked. Like if you just take that New Japan title that they unveiled, let's just make that a new title in a new federation or something. Completely new title, detached from any other previous name. I'd say, that's a pretty good looking title. But when it replaces a title that I already like, just like a lot of people liked the 02 Undisputed title. Some people are even crazy enough to like the spinner belt. I hate them both, but maybe I'm being unfair to them, judging them because I'm so partial to the Winged Eagle and stuff, you know what I mean? So I think, when you bring in a new belt, look at the Intercontinental title now. It's another great example, the one that Big E has. It's fine if it was just another title, if they started a new belt and that's what it looks like, great. But the fact that you're replacing, the old classic Intercontinental title that I'm such a mark for with something like that, it just sucks. So I basically feel the same way about this New Japan title. And not a huge fan. But anyway, Kota Ibushi, I'm sure, will make it look good because that's what he does. that'll pretty much knock it out for most of the news that I have jotted down. Just a few tidbits there. And, of course, we wanted to talk a lot about Austin and Jericho. And now we'll get into a little bit of results, and then I will wrap up with some TakeOver and WrestleMania previews. Cruise over here. All right, we're good. We're caught up on the super duper chats. That's nice. If you guys can smash that thumbs up button for me, I would appreciate it very, very much. And we'll get into, I guess since we were so WWE heavy in this episode, let's just go ahead and knock out Dynamite, because there was a couple of good things on the show that I want to talk about. And a lot of what I'm going to be doing, too, is going to be Cliff's Notes. I've kind of gotten away from that on Saturdays. I don't want to get into every single detail of every single show. That can be boring. So we want to get into the major angles, the good stuff, the juicy bits, and kind of blow through some of these results and tell you what I liked and did not like of the week. I will tell you this right off the bat, after NXT has given me, for me, like every week on Wednesday, I kind of think in my head or judge which show I liked better. Sometimes it's hard for me to pick, but for the most part, I can pick one. I think the last 2 weeks, I've picked NXT as the better show. That ended on Wednesday, even though NXT was a great show, and I think did a really good job of setting the table for TakeOver with a lot of good hype packages and things like that. AEW Dynamite was fucking fun. Now, this technically is the final week of the true Wednesday Night War. So the final true ratings between these two in their war was a victory for AEW, coming in at 700,000 to NXT's 654,000. So a slight victory there by AEW. And how funny is this that WWE might actually get the last laugh, because they're moving NXT's to Tuesdays. And this was kind of the last head-to-head regular Wednesday night show. Next week is going to be TakeOver, unless AEW, they're not running unopposed for any reason that I'm not aware of, right? AEW does have a Dynamite next week, so they're going up against night one of TakeOver, and I would think that NXT will probably win the ratings next Wednesday. So in the final Wednesday that they're together, WWE gets the final laugh and actually beats them in the ratings, which is kind of funny after AEW has pretty much owned them. But I guess there is a chance AEW, I know last week's was taped. Maybe they're taking a week off. I don't know. Should have been informed of that. But as far as I know, AEW will be on television next Wednesday. We opened up, I believe, on AEW. It was Christian's return. Now, Christian and Kazarian set up a match the previous week, so we knew we were going to get that on this show, and we were going to get a look at Christian for the first time in a while. First time in, 7 years, aside from the Royal Rumble. And holy shit, he picked a hell of an opponent. They go way back to their TNA days. They have history. Really good guy for Christian to work with, and the match was good. Kind of an old school match, but it picked up pace, near the end. And Christian, he's got that outwork everyone moniker. I think he did a pretty good job here in this match as well. And just, he is just a very, very skilled veteran. He looked really good here. He wound up winning after Kazarian put up a really hard fight. Christian looked a little bit gassed at the end, too. I ain't going to lie. In the end, though, he sidestepped Kazarian, who then shoulder posts himself. And then Christian's able to hit him in the kill switch and nail him with a great sell. Props to Frankie for selling the hell out of that kill switch. It looked great. And Christian got the victory in his first match back. I do believe they taped Dynamite this week because Christian had, I forgot where he said it, interview or something like that, but Christian actually watched his match on Dynamite with Edge. Apparently Edge is staying at his house. See, AEW, WWE living together. They're literally roommates. So Edge and Christian actually watched the match together, which I thought was really cool, and I'm sure they'll do the same after Edge's match at WrestleMania. Maybe they'll sit down and watch that together as well. Maybe Christian will be there. Maybe Christian will be backstage at WrestleMania. Who knows? Maybe he got permission to go and see his buddy win the title. Who knows what this new wrestling world could have. I mean, if Christian wanted to just hang out backstage at WrestleMania, you think anybody would stop him? Maybe. I don't know. But that was kind of cool there. Welcome back, Christian. Really, really good first outing for him in AEW. Can't wait to see what he does in the future. Dude's a pro. I loved the QT and Cody Rhodes stuff. A lot of people didn't, but I didn't like the way it was all set up because Cody Rhodes comes off as such a douchebag in this, and he's supposed to kind of like be the baby. And just last week, the way he's like, oh, my heart's not into it, but I'll humor you. I'll let you try to wrestle me. And, when I get you in the crossroads, I'll just let it go. When I hook you in the figure four, I won't cinch it in or whatever. I'll just, kind of let you go. Just real condescending. I'm at the top of the mountain. You're down here. You're not worth me breaking a sweat over kind of thing. So even though Cody Rhodes is trying to do the babyface friendly thing, he's got an ass whooping coming his way for sure based on the way he's acting. So this is supposed to be an exhibition between Cody and QT. They get in there. QT's had all sorts of problems. A lot of heel turn teases throughout the months of him, storming off or doing something weird to Dustin or whatever. He's been acting kind of funny. He had the whole deal with Bunny a while back too. So he's a little bit unstable. So you've been smelling this. They've been planting the seeds for this for a while for him to do something here. So I'm not surprised that he finally snapped here. Cody is being way too nice, holding the ropes open for him during the match and everything. Finally, he just gets it. Arn Anderson, by the way, who's the referee for this, the special guest referee to kind of control this exhibition. QT just turns around right in the middle of the match and just nails him, just decks him, punches him right in the face. Arn goes down like a ton of bricks. At first, QT seems remorseful. He gets out of the ring. The Nightmare family jumps in to help Arn, Billy, and the Gun Boys and everybody else, and Lee Johnson and Dustin all jump in there to help out Arn and attend to Cody. And then all of them are attacked by Aaron Solo, Nick Comoroto, and Anthony Ogogo. These are all Nightmare Factory students that are trained by QT and everybody there. These are supposed to be, guys that are part of the Nightmare family, sort of, but they're students instead. They then attack the Nightmare family, the Dust Billy and the Gun Boys and Dustin, Lee Johnson, and Cody. They're beating the shit out of all of them as QT kind of turns his back on the stage and kind of reveals just with his facial expression that this was the plan all along, and he's kind of created his own faction here. We saw Nick Comoroto not long ago. Who did he wrestle? I think Moxley on TV. And we're like, who the hell is this guy? It looks like he can bench press a semi. He's huge. And Aaron Solo and Anthony Ogogo are great. So it's a nice little faction and a way for us to, to see more people. And man, we got another faction on our hands here with QT's group. And they seem pretty vicious because after that, they pick up the big Nick, picks up the steps, throws it on the stage. They get Dustin on the steps, and QT delivers a pile driver onto Dustin onto the steel steps. He instructs his goons to bring Cody over, and he's got Cody's head laying down there, and he's about to just smash his head with a chair when Red Velvet comes out and actually convinces QT to back off. And he kind of backs off with his boys, and they kind of go away. So we've got yet another faction in AEW. I've lost track of how many factions this promotion has, and it's very, very faction heavy, and a lot of people are criticizing this. I don't mind this at all, really. And here's why. WWE did this a while back. Remember back in like 97, Gang Warfare, Survivor Series, they had Bariquas and DOA, and we had the fucking Oddities and DX and Nation. There was factions everywhere. And sometimes factions are a really useful tool, if they're done right, useful tool to create a breakout star. Here's one thing AEW is doing right for all the critics out there. Regardless of what you say about them, they are giving off some serious attitude era vibes. Back in WWE, when they were in a rebuilding phase, trying to battle WCW and the Hogans and the Halls and the Nashes and the Savages and everybody else that they had, the big names out there that they had, WWE had to basically restart from scratch. Basically, or they were lucky to have Stone Cold Steve Austin. They've developed guys like The Rock, but how did The Rock get developed? How? He was a boring, booed out of the building babyface until they stuck him in a faction. When you're in a faction, you have the ability, you have the chance to get over. Even Edge and Christian kind of same way. They started in the Brood. Fucking Pete Gas got over, in the Mean Street Posse and stuff. Anybody can get over. So you see a lot of criticisms of QT. Oh, this guy's just a jabroni. He looks like a schmuck. He looks like an old man. He's got a dad bod or whatever. You're never going to know what he can do if you don't give him a chance, if you don't throw him a bone. So let's see what he can do as a faction leader here. Let's see if it's good. It might not be. It might suck, but I'll tell you what AEW is doing, no matter who they are on the card or what their position is on the card, for the most part, all of AEW's main on-television stars have a story. Sound familiar? Back in the day, in WCW versus WWE Monday Night Wars, WWE had a story for every person. No matter where you are on the card, you had something to do. You don't see that now. WWE's just scribbling together show notes during lunch, day of the show. And it used to not be like that. They used to take the time to think of things for a young Edge and Christian to do, to think of things for a young Rock to do, or Kane or a lot of these stars that became superstars but weren't quite there yet at first. You had to get them over. And we've had some surprises in WWE. Some guys got over huge that you wouldn't expect to get over. So with AEW now creating all of these factions, it's giving guys a chance to shine and giving guys a chance to be on TV, not just by themselves, just trying to get over in that typical go out there, win a match, cut a promo or two type of thing. You know, they're there in a faction now. We can kind of see their personality more. Somebody like Ricky Starks, I think, has benefited greatly from being in Team Taz because you can really see how good he is. He has something to do every single week that's not just coming out there, having a match and going away. We get to see him in a backstage environment. We get to hear him talk a lot, and we're able to see a lot of his positives and his qualities. And building all these factions gives these people an opportunity to do that. Inner Circle is the same way. It's a good way to give rub to guys like Sammy Guevara and MJF, and some other guys that, might be younger. And with all of these factions, you're going to have a breakout star. I'm not saying all of these factions are great. I'm not saying that all of the storylines are great. Yes, everybody in the company has a story right now in AEW, but they are not all great, just like WWE. Think about all the dumb shit WWE did during the height of their popularity, when they were getting crazy ratings. Think about the stupid shit they did with the dumb angles and the boring crap and the fucking Truth Commission and the Commandant and the fucking all these like random ass and like factions. A lot of it wasn't good, but a lot of it was, and some of it would create out of nowhere, out of thin air, a breakout star. And I think with all these factions in AEW, they're not all going to be successful, but somebody's going to break out. That's the name of the game. Create a star. Actually create a star that somebody wants to see. Give them a chance to get over and connect with the audience and get fans to take notice of them because they didn't notice them before. And here's guys, take Nick Camarado, for example. When we saw him on TV, what did everybody say? Holy shit, look at the size of this guy. How did he slip through WWE's fingers? So and he's green as shit still, but he had a pretty good outing. I think it was Moxley, right, that he faced. And he definitely has potential and size and presence and all of that. Stick him in a faction. He can be the muscle. Get him over that way. Maybe we'll see if he has a personality as soon as they put the microphone in front of his face. We'll get a chance maybe to see him do more than just pick up shit and throw it around. Maybe we'll hear him talk. Maybe we'll kind of get an idea if he's got presence or personality or anything like that. This is how you do it. So I just laugh my ass off at everybody criticizing, hey, you got a lot of factions. This is fucking stupid. No, it's not fucking stupid. It's fucking smart. Because it's not going to all work, but it will create something. And it will create something like a homegrown piece of talent that they had. What if QT is fucking charismatic as hell and we don't know? What if he becomes one of the most over acts in wrestling? Oh, he can't wrestle. He looks like a bum. Mick Foley looked like a bum. There's so many guys. I mean, we think about I mentioned Pete Gas earlier on. Think about how many people were in like worse physical condition than QT. I think before he might be shaving his chest now. He did look a little bit older with the hairy chest. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. He does kind of look like an old man. I think he should shave his head like me or something like that. But this now gives him an opportunity to give the fans a different impression of him other than he's that jobber friend that has the sympathy job from Cody. AEW, I think, is smart enough. We've seen so far that when something is failing and bombing, they end it. So if this QT shit is a pile of crap and everybody is just ripping it apart every week on TV and it's getting nothing but bad reviews from every fan, then I think AEW won't do anything with it. But maybe this is a way to get some of these other guys over, some of these young guys, these Nightmare Factory students over, be able to highlight the strength and the presence of a Nick Camarado and maybe see what QT can do in a leadership role as a heel on the mic. Throw him that bone. Give him the ball. He either runs with it or fumbles it. But I think it's worth a try anyway, because we've seen less capable people get over. There's been plenty of people, I think, in WWE that have gotten over that didn't really have the best of ability or maybe were a jobber before. Look at Road Dogg. I mean, he's an Armstrong. It's in his goddamn blood. But of the Armstrong brothers, he was the least talented of them in terms of in the ring, but he made the most money because he had personality. He didn't look like a wrestler. Brad Armstrong was just such in good shape. He was such a great technical wrestler, so athletic, so crisp, so smooth. Road Dogg didn't have any of that. He looked like a pile of shit out there. He wasn't in any kind of shape, or whatever, but man, he could talk. He had that character. He was over. He knew how to feed off people. He knew how to connect with the audience. He knew how to do his shimmies and all that stuff. And he made it, and he made the best of it. Where do you think he got that opportunity? In DX, in a faction. So this is kind of how it happens. And I'm all for, they're faction heavy. Don't get me wrong. There is 5,000 factions in AEW. I understand that. But this is something they're trying right now. And I promise you, it will break out somebody. There's going to be a lot of it that isn't great, but there's going to be a lot of it that will be good. And somebody will be made because of this. This is the whole point, right? Because you can't have it both ways. You can't have your cake and stick it up your ass too, which is what many people do. They complain that AEW is nothing but WWE cast-offs. And here AEW is actually doing things in storyline to try to create some breakout stars, and all of a sudden that's not okay either. So basically what you're saying is AEW just can't do anything without you being an asshole about it. So I think they're doing the right thing here. See what you can do. Get guys over. Give a chance for new stars to be shown on TV, because maybe you can create your own here. Maybe you can kind of replicate, not replicate a form or use this formula that WWE used when they were combating WCW, who had all the big names. What do? Make some of your own. And this is what they're trying to do. It does not happen overnight. You're just not a star tomorrow. QT is not going to be the best merch seller in all of wrestling tomorrow. See how it goes first. Somebody will say something on an interview, because AEW is a lot more lenient and less scripted than WWE, which is how a lot of stars have been born with the Austin 316 and shit like that. Sooner or later, somebody's going to do something or say something that the fans are going to be like, ooh, I like that. Next thing you know, it's a t-shirt and to the moon. It can happen. And this is kind of the way I think you can set that potential possibility up. So I'm going to go against the grain, and everybody who is criticizing too many factions, I'm going to say it's a good thing. Maybe I'll be proved right. Maybe I'll be proved wrong. But you can't complain about too many WWE guys there and complain that they're trying to make new stars at the same time. That makes no fucking sense. Just makes you look stupid. So make up your mind, pick a side, stick with it. Stop being so damn wishy-washy and contradicting your damn self. That's what they all do. Anyway, speaking of people getting over, holy shit, the Inner Circle and Pinnacle Brawl. This was fun. This reminded me of like a final fight in a final season of Cobra Kai. I like kind of like the steady cam shots of the way we're battling. Oh, shit. All right, we're good. I'm sorry. I usually try to secure my cord. Let me make sure I'm working over here. I'm watching myself to make sure I come back on. Nope. Yeah? Okay, we're good. I'm sorry. Oh man, anyway. I got so excited about the brawl, I unhooked my microphone. But anyway, I like the way the whole thing was shot. It just looked so good. I mean, it was edited, and we're seeing, like with the pandemic, a lot of these more kind of filmed, taped segments and brawls, and they all look pretty good, when they go down. And this one looked really good. This was so fun. So you got the Pinnacle in their dressing room. MJF is talking to him or whatever, and I don't know, some motivational bullshit. And MJF walks over to the door to leave, and he opens the door, and Jericho is standing right there with his hands together, and he's got Proud and Powerful and Sammy Guevara behind him, and MJF just closed the door, and he goes, we got to go, and they try to leave out the other side, out the other door. They open that up. Jake Hager is standing there. Boom, decks MJF. Inner Circle comes in from the other side. They basically just swarm the Pinnacle. They brawl outside the door. The camera's kind of following them through the whole time. Really, really well shot. Like I said, it reminded me of a final fight in Cobra Kai. Sammy Guevara hits his finisher on Shawn Spears in the hallway into the door, which is great. And then Shawn kind of like lands in the doorway. Sammy then takes the door and slams it on his head. That was fucking great. Jake Hager then puts Wardlow through a massage table. Cash Wheeler goes flying in an ice bath. That probably sucked. Santana was threatening to hit Dax with like a chunk of wood, but he's got blood coming all down his head. So I didn't catch where he got hit there, but he shared a picture on Twitter and on social media later on in the night of just the stitches he had in the gash in his head. So he got nailed. He had blood coming all down the side of his face. That was crazy. Jericho and MJF are battling back in the dressing room. Jericho gives MJF a swirly, very Dick Slater and Sting style, flushes the toilet on MJF, and then takes him and throws him face first through the Pepsi machine or the Pepsi cooler in the dressing room. And he instructs the Inner Circle to pick up MJF's lifeless body and drag him out of the locker room. They go to the locker room door, they tear off the Pinnacle sign, and they slap on the Inner Circle sign, and they have retaken their locker room. It was great shit, great brawl, really well shot, produced, done. Everything about it was really, really good. I thought it was fun as hell, and I just loved everything about this. So Inner Circle is, still very much alive and well. Jericho led the charge there, and he took it to everybody. I don't know what this is going to lead to. Now, this gives us an opportunity to do another one of these fucking stadium stampede things or something. So I don't know if this is going to be more geared towards, because we're going to get Jericho MJF one-on-one at some point, but you also might get some big combination Pinnacle versus Inner Circle match, some big, wild, crazy, balls to the wall brawl. And I'd be into that, because the one with the Elite and the Inner Circle was fantastic. So if they did another one of those, I would be into that, with maybe the blow off being MJF and Jericho, and maybe a loser leaves town or something like that. Maybe something to kind of get Jericho off for a while or something. I don't know. I don't know where it all concludes. Not sure, but probably on pay-per-view somewhere. So this was all really fun. And, the upcoming segments on TV now between these two factions should be pretty fun to watch as well. So those were two of my favorite. There's three big things on the show. Those were two of my favorites, with the QT and Cody stuff and the Inner Circle and Pinnacle brawl. And the other thing I really liked was the main event. But before I get to that, we also had Moxley defeated Cesaro Bononi. We had that deal with Don Callis and the Young Bucks backstage, where he kind of dismisses everybody else and is really focused on Matt for some reason. It's like he's trying to drive a wedge between the Young Bucks, but also giving Matt a lot of shit, basically kind of illustrating, kind of what like a little pussy he is. He's daring him to hit him, and Matt just won't do it. I don't know why. Maybe Matt's a higher up in the company. He's got an office job. He's an executive. Maybe he can't go around punching executives from other brands or whatever. I don't know, but he definitely seems resistant to, just to really, snap and deck Don Callis. So we'll see where that's leading. I don't know if it's going to be leading to Bucks doing stuff individually, or maybe a heel turn, or I don't know. I don't know what the fuck's going on there, but they would be back out there later on, or would they? The Lucha Brothers, I don't have the aftermath written down here, but I loved the trios match with the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid against Kenny and the Good Brothers. That was a crazy great match. I'd seen Laredo Kid work like last week a few times, and awesome and everything, but I just guess I didn't realize how just batshit crazy he is. Some of his suicide dives are incredible. I haven't seen stuff like this since 18 years old. Rey Mysterio doing some crazy stuff, very reminiscent of Rey. And putting him and Phoenix on the same team is ridiculous. He was just all over the place. Really tough to keep your eye on him. He was entertaining as hell. Love the rope walk by Phoenix that kicked Omega right into the head, followed by a really sick-looking Michinoku driver for a near fall. But in the end, Omega was able to isolate Laredo Kid, V-trigger him, and hit him with the one-winged angel for the win, and a really, really, really fun six-man match. And I don't know, do you think AEW will create a trios title? I've never been a huge fan of those. I remember not liking it in WCW way back in the day. I'm like, that's too much. But I don't know. Maybe AEW can pull it off with matches like that. Holy shit. I'd definitely be open to it. And Laredo Kid has found himself a fan in me. That guy is out of his mind. Loved that match as well. But of everything, I might have liked the Arcade Anarchy main event the most. Jesus, this was fun as well. Everything was just so out of control on Wednesday night, and that's what I liked about AEW, is that they did give you a whole lot of variety, great wrestling in Christian and Kazarian, great brawling in Inner Circle and Pinnacle, great swerve and faction creation and heel turn and the QT and Cody stuff, and then the main event was like a combination of all of it, of brawling, of comedy, and of returns, and of surprises, and it was so incredibly fun from top to bottom. Can't say enough good things about Dynamite this week. So we had the big Arcade Anarchy match, which some of these have not been good so far, and a lot of what Miro has done so far in AEW I haven't been a huge fan of, so full disclosure there. But this match was a lot of fun. It was Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor taking on Kip Sabian and Miro, and this was fun. So this was all over the place. They had arcade machines out there. They had like a merch stand that had weapons hanging from it instead of merchandise. They had a hockey table out there, air hockey table, all sorts of toys and weapons and shit you could use. They had Legos would be busted out at one point. It was crazy. So they're brawling a lot through the arcade stuff first. You know those little machines, the little things at the arcade where the guy comes up through the hole and you hit him with a mallet? Orange has got Kip Sabian stuck on one of those, and he's just bashing his head with the little bopper with the hammer thing. That was funny. They pulled all the weapons off the merch stand, the trash can lids, and the kendo sticks and all that shit. Chuck Taylor later on would bust out a bag of Legos. You think he's got thumbtacks, but he dumps out Legos. Winds up getting power bombed on them, though, so he introduced them and wound up eating the bump, and they can't feel good. They don't suck as bad as Tax, but they probably suck almost as bad as Tax, because landing on those, getting power bombed on Legos, if I just step on one of them shits, I'm pissed. Can't imagine being power bombed on them, so that probably wasn't fun. One of my favorite spots was they had one of those, you know, those claw machines with the prizes and stuffed animals in them. You come down, you try to grab it. They had one of those machines there, and they're starting to approach. Penelope Ford is out there because, of course, she's backing up Kip and Miro, and she comes up to the claw machine there, and then up through the prizes appears a returning Chris Statlander, who's been out for months with that knee injury, and she just bashes through the plexiglass thing, hits Penelope right in the face. She goes flying back. She jumps out of it, and the two of them are brawling, and Chris then brings Penelope into the ring, brings her on the ring apron, and hits her with another driver. We've seen a lot of drivers on this show, and hits a sick driver onto Penelope, off the apron, through the hockey table. And that was great. Welcome back, Chris Statlander. She looked great. She was one of my, she was one of the ones I liked the most in like the women's division. I'm like, oh, she seems like somebody's got potential. She's got size. She's good. She's strong. And it was kind of a bummer that she got injured. Not sure how I feel really about the alien gimmick, but I like her a lot. So I'm glad she's back. Welcome back, Chris Statlander. That sucks to get injured and be out that long. And I'm sure she's thrilled to be there, and she took a pretty big bump in her first night back, so be careful, girl. But it would get better. After that, you got Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor. They're like it was the funniest shot. The only thing that didn't really look good in this whole match was the shot of Cassidy and Chuck crawling up the garage ramp. They were crawling so slow, it looked like they were escaping prison. Like they were just slowly crawling, but I guess they were just waiting for the cue, because in the distance, we see a set of headlights. And as it gets closer, it becomes apparent that's a white van coming this way. And we knew what that was going to be. We knew it was going to be one, but probably two returns. And of course it was. White van speeds up to Chuck and Orange. It's Sue. Sue is returned with the van. Sliding door opens. Out pops Trent, who's also been on the shelf with an injury. His mom drops him off at the brawl, gives him a kiss on the cheek, and Trent goes off and starts kicking ass. That was great. I wish that there would have been more fans there. I wish that would have been a sold out house, because that just seems something that should have gotten a bigger pop than it did. Got a pop out of me, see, just the fact that's why AEW is so great. When do you see that? How fucking hilarious is that? We actually have a wrestler who gets dropped off to the matches by his mom. How can you not think that's awesome? So anyway, he starts brawling with Miro, gets all his revenge. In the end, as Trent and Miro are off brawling, Penelope has been dealt with by Statlander. Chuck has got Kip Sabian up on the stage, and he power slams him through the stage, through tables, onto the floor, and pins him for the win. And that should be finally the blow off of this whole situation. The best friends are back in full force. I think we get the big triple hug at the end. Fans going nuts. Great way to close out Dynamite. I loved this match, and I loved Dynamite in general this week. When I think about what I want and expect from AEW, this was kind of it, because what I've liked about AEW is they're so all over the place. They're so fun. They really do give you a lot of variety on the show. Whether you want wrestling, comedy, brawling, blood, guts, violence, whatever, you kind of have it all here. And a lot of these shows can be, bonkers, wacky, where there's just so much going on. I did not expect somebody to get thrown through a Mortal Kombat machine. I didn't expect Chris Statlander to come up through a fucking thing. I didn't expect Sue to come back. And, the brawl with the Inner Circle and Pinnacle was fun. All of that was just a lot of fun. So, that's one thing that WWE doesn't give us, because WWE, their shows are so monotonous. It's fucking commercial after match. The same match we saw last week with the same situation, the same DQ, and then the same recaps and the same shit just recycled. They really lack that cool factor. And AEW isn't all cool and everything. Some of the shit they do, it can be kind of cheesy. But for the most part, they got a much more cool factor than WWE does. And when I see a show like this, I just want to be entertained. I just want to sit here on the couch, with my girlfriend and watch a show and laugh our asses off and have a good time watching it. And that's exactly what AEW did this week. So props to them. They win in my book. That was a fantastic Dynamite, and I had a blast watching it. So we'll see how they do next week. Like I said, I think WWE is going to get the last laugh because they're going to have night 1 of TakeOver going head-to-head against AEW in really the final Wednesday. And I'm sure WWE or NXT will get a better rating. It would have to, based on what they have planned on the card so far for that. So I think they're going to get the last laugh. I think it's going to turn out that AEW won about 95% of these weekly head-to-head matchups, in the war. And I guess they got the best of it in that little mini war or battle or pinch fight, whatever you want to call it. Holy shit. All Elite Wrestling is here. Hello. Thanks, guys. And that looks like the legit All Elite Wrestling, too. Glad you guys are here. That's really awesome. Holy crap. Or is that a podcast? Maybe not. Anyway, that's really cool. Really, really cool. There you go. That's a good idea. Inner Circle versus Pinnacle, Blood and Guts. We've been owed that Blood and Guts match. I don't think they ever got that taped, or did they? They might have taped it and then didn't air it. I don't remember what the fuck, but yeah, doing another one of those would be great. Blood and Guts, Inner Circle versus Pinnacle. There's really no other match you could do, when you think about it. So that would be a great blow off. Doing that maybe instead of the big stadium stampede. Blood and Guts might be a little bit more appropriate for the heat and the feud. Yeah, good stuff. We got a $5 super chat in from Luigi DeRaw Gaming. Do you keep up with NXT UK? They also have a special next week. There are 2 casualties to wrestling that I just simply cannot follow or watch. One of them is NXT UK, and the other one is 205 Live. I just don't have time. I try to catch Elevation. I try to catch AEW Dark as much as I can because that's easily accessible on YouTube. But for the most part, I was like, I got to cut out something. So 205 Live and NXT UK suffer. And I apologize that I'm not more informed on those brands. Cerebrus, what's up? Appreciate the 5 from you. Yeah, AEW showed up in the chat. That's awesome. Wasn't expecting that either. Very cool. Yeah, I thought it was a fake account at first. But anyway, All Elite Wrestling, we love you here on the channel. We always talk good about you. And Dynamite was a blast this past Wednesday night. Let's move on now to NXT. Like I said, this is pretty much it. This past Wednesday was your last final head-to-head week between these 2 brands, as NXT will have TakeOver on Wednesday, and then they're moving to Tuesdays after that. But this was a pretty good show as well, and I would have, if AEW would have given us any less, I would have picked NXT, but man, Dynamite was off the hook. But they did a great job here on NXT of setting up TakeOver, I think, and I'm really looking forward to this card because we're going to run through the card here in just a second for night 1 and 2, and it's looking as good as WrestleMania in my mind. There's a couple of matches here that I'm like, holy shit, that's going to be good stuff. So, anywho, why don't we get into just a few of the bright spots of NXT, and then we'll wrap things up with SmackDown and WrestleMania. We had Cameron Grimes defeating Roderick Strong in the opener there. I feel so bad for Roderick because he's completely lost all of his Undisputed Era colors, theme music. He almost looks like generic wrestler number 45 coming out to the ring now. Cameron Grimes, he wants to purchase, because of course he got rich off the GameStop stock, he wants to purchase the intellectual property of Undisputed Era. He wants to own the name. He wants to change it to Grimes the System, and he's got all these plans, and he wants to own the IP, so maybe he can rebrand it or make money off it or whatever. He uses this as a way to actually win his match against Roderick Strong, because Roddy, of course, is all kind of broken up about the fact that his faction broke up. He seems a little bit lost, and he seems to have lost his way. I'm sure he will play a role in the Cole and O'Reilly match at TakeOver, but Grimes pulls a fast one here by shoving an Undisputed Era armband in his trunks. He pulls it out and kind of throws it and drops it on the mat. Roderick sees it, and he kind of seems to be really distracted by that, allowing Grimes to come in and hit the cave-in for the win. Big win for Grimes. I'm a big fan of Cameron Grimes, and I like that he got the victory there and tying it into the whole stuff, or to the whole Undisputed thing with Roderick Strong. That was good, and good for Cameron Grimes. He's a trip. He cracks me up. I love him on the mic. I love how wild he is. He's one of my favorite people on NXT. We had that battle royal to start determining the Gauntlet Eliminator order for TakeOver. LA Knight won that, last eliminating Dexter Lumis. Pretty good finish there too. Dexter got tossed over the top rope but landed on the apron. LA Knight went through the ropes to the floor but wasn't eliminated, and so when he was out there, he grabbed Dexter's feet and just pulled him out and then slid under the ring. So I can't remember too many battle royals that I've seen where the winner won while his feet were on the floor. You know, like I've never seen a winner of a battle royal yank somebody off from the floor from the apron. I don't know. It might have happened. It just seems like that's not something I've seen too many times before. So LA Knight will enter the Gauntlet Eliminator at TakeOver Night 1 last. Winner of that will face Johnny Gargano Night 2 for the North American title. After that, we had a lot going on between Raquel Gonzalez and Io Shirai. These women were battling and brawling several times throughout the show. And I guess the theme here was that Io kept attacking Raquel, and Raquel was just fighting her off every time. Backstage, Io comes up to her, and Raquel just beats her ass and then throws her through a wall. And then and then later on, I think Io tries to attack again, and she slams her onto a crate. And then Raquel goes out to the ring, beats Zoe Stark in a match. Io Shirai attacks her again after the match for another brawl. And I think Raquel kind of got the better of that. They're eventually brawling some more, big pull apart. The rest of the women come out there to try to separate these two ladies. Io springboards off the top rope onto all of them on the floor. So basically the theme here is Io cannot die. No matter how many times Raquel put her down, she kept fighting, she kept fighting, she kept fighting. I'm looking forward to this match at TakeOver. If you ask me, this is the time for Raquel. We've been waiting for this. Io is a great champion. She's been champion for a while. And, you know, one of the biggest reasons why I think that she's been champion so long is really because she has been the best one there. And Raquel reminds me a lot of Rhea Ripley, where I think they need to capitalize on her strength and her badassness and how dominant she is. She's awesome. So I don't want to see them really drag their feet here. Io's been ripe for a loss for a long time. They've been waiting for the right person to come along to beat her instead of just taking the title off of her for the sake of taking the title off of her. They feels like they've been saving up for a big moment. This is your moment. Got to put the belt on Raquel here. I just hope that Raquel Gonzalez doesn't follow, you know, kind of the same disappointing path that Rhea Ripley did, you know, because Ripley, when she got put over at the end of 2019 like that, I was on cloud nine. I'm like, this girl's going to be the next big thing. And maybe there's still a chance for that. She is wrestling for the title at WrestleMania, but, you know, after last year, losing to Charlotte and then kind of being out of the game a little bit, out of the title picture anyway, in NXT, had a couple of battles with Raquel, one of which she won. It still feels like Rhea should be at a higher level right now than where she currently is. I thought she'd be higher than that now. So hopefully Raquel, you know, won't get fucked up by WWE once she finally does break out there, and she'll have a dominant run, you know, as champion, at least for a little while. Because if you're going to put the belt on Raquel, I don't want to see her hold it for a short time like Ripley did. Like, have her be a little bit dominant before she drops it and then heads off to the main roster and all of that. So anyway, I think TakeOver is going to be it for the run, I should say, of Io Shirai, and it's been a good one. They did a really good job of hyping everything else. You know, Io Shirai and Raquel, I thought, did a very beautiful brawling arc throughout NXT to kind of hype up their match. Everything else was kind of done video package and promo-wise, and it was good. I really like the Karrion Kross and Finn Balor hype package. Karrion doing the training with a kind of a new look, Scarlet, new hair, new bangs, and he's basically talking about kind of going back to basics, catch wrestling, judo, striking, which honestly is smart because I love Karrion Kross, but he ain't great in the ring. I'm just going to say that. He's good, but I don't think he needs to be trying to do too much crazy things in there. I think he needs to be a little bit more deliberate, more Brock-like. I was so high in him when he was first brought in because he just really does come across as this killer and somebody that can murder you and is very tough, very intimidating, double tough. And I think that's the way he should be presented and continue to be presented. And I think that's best for him. He doesn't need to be doing anything too much out there. You know, just accentuate your positives, hide your negatives. And if you're not Eddie Guerrero in the ring, you know, try to be someone else and, try to just win matches with your toughness and your fighting kind of MMA ability might be, you know, best for him. And I still think that if booked right, you know, they can definitely give, you know, kind of that Brock aura to somebody like him if they really make him unbeatable. If he beats Finn Balor, it's going to be an awesome match. I think Balor is going to give him a great match and make him look really good. But if he beats Balor and he does it relatively definitively, you know, finisher, boom, right in the middle of the ring, clean 1, 2, 3, that can be a big statement for Karrion Kross. I still don't know. We'll do our predictions next week. No, I'm going to do predictions Monday night, I guess. Not quite sure who I'm going to predict on this yet. My gut is to go with Kross, but you never know. Finn Balor has been a remarkable NXT champion, and I'd be fine with that continuing too. If somebody is going to give Kross his first loss, I'd be fine with it being Balor. So we'll see. We'll talk more about that next week. Great package for Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly as well. That one I'm really looking forward to. I believe, let me just scroll down that. I think is on night 2 with, Balor, Cross, and Cole and O'Reilly are both night 2 of TakeOver. Holy shit. That's going to be real good. Real good hype package there. I'm looking forward to that one a lot. And maybe some surprises in there too. Might see Pat McAfee, might see Roderick Strong. Who knows what we'll see there. And good Walter and Tommaso Ciampa promos as well. I believe that match is on night 1. That one I'm looking forward to. I think also on night 2, which we'll talk about, is that ladder match. Santos Escobar defeated Tyler Breeze in an open challenge on NXT on Wednesday. After the match, Legado del Fantasma comes out to continue the attack. MSK makes the save, and the Grizzleds cut a Tron promo. Of course, those 3 teams will be battling for the vacant NXT title at TakeOver. We had Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell defeating Gigi Dolan, former Priscilla Kelly, on NXT now, wrestling regularly, and Zeta Ramir. Had not seen her before, but pretty much just a squash there for Candice and Indy. After the match, they issue a challenge to NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, who I call Blackheart Moon. I think it's a cool sounding name. Shotzi and Blackheart then come out to accept the challenge. So that is now set for TakeOver as well. Candice and Indy, the way, taking on Blackheart Moon for the tag titles. And we also had the vignette with the little dog. Little dog running. It was pretty cute. The little dog running across like the NXT logo and all the shit in the Performance Center and running back in the offices and everything. And apparently this is a vignette for a new woman called Frankie Monet. I don't think it's a secret, and I don't think I'm spoiling anything if I tell you that it's Taya Valkyrie. I think most people know that because she has posted pictures of herself with this fucking dog on social media, so I do not think I'm spoiling anything for you there, and she's going to be debuting on April 13th. The first NXT Tuesday will be our first look at Taya Valkyrie, who is now being called Frankie Monet, and I guess she's going to be bringing that little dog with her. So maybe we need another woman named Matilda who brings a parrot to the ring to feud with Frankie Monet. That's what we need. So anyway, pretty good NXT there, but like I said, AEW is better this week in my mind. TakeOver card looks awesome. Here's what we got. Night 1 on Wednesday. Io Shirai defending the NXT Women's title against Raquel Gonzalez. Walter defending the UK title against Tommaso Ciampa. That's going to be ridiculous. Triple threat match for the vacant NXT Tag Team titles. MSK taking on Legado del Fantasma and Grizzled Young Veterans. And we get the gauntlet match for a North American title shot on night 2. Leon Ruff versus Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Bronson Reed versus Cameron Grimes versus Dexter versus LA Knight. Johnny's a heel, so is he going to drop the North American title on night 2? Part of me says no, unless it turns out to be Dexter. I would love for it to be Dexter Lumis. So or maybe even Cameron Grimes, but I don't think Johnny is going to be going up against a heel. When LA Knight won the Battle Royal on Wednesday, he did get in the face of Gargano, who was on commentary for that. But I can't see Gargano going up against another heel. I think he's just much better against a babyface because he's so super ridiculous. And Dexter's kind of my pick there, but we'll see. We'll see what happens on night 2. And in terms of night 2, that's the stack card. Like I said, we do get Gargano against the winner of that gauntlet eliminator match. We also have Shotzi and Ember defending the tag titles against The Way. We've got that great cruiserweight title ladder match between Santos Escobar and Jordan Devlin on night 2. That's going to be incredible because we have the dueling belts thing. Sean even made his presence known and shoved a ladder in the ring to kind of put his stamp of approval on that. That one I'm really looking forward to. And Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly is going to be incredible. And then the main event with Karrion Kross challenging Finn Balor for the NXT title is going to be awesome. So both of these nights are looking good. They are both looking really good. I mean, night 2 obviously is looking better, but night 1 is going to be no joke either. That's going to be pretty good stuff. So I'm ready to rock for TakeOver, man. It looks real good. So yeah, it's coming up in just a week. Let's wrap things up with SmackDown now. A couple of things I want to mention about last night. We'll run through the WrestleMania card, and then I'm going to be getting out of here. Let me scroll through. Make sure I don't have any more super chats to answer. I got one from Luigi DeRaw Gaming. Thank you for the $5, man. Do I think Cole is going to try and outdo Britt Baker in his no DQ match? Yes, I do. I hope he does, because this is also like a non-sanctioned match as well, right? So I don't think he's going to really try to outdo her, but I think it is cool that they're both kind of in unsanctioned type of deals, like lights out type of matches. And that's something that's going to be a source of pride for the two of them. And I know O'Reilly and Cole, as good as Baker and Thunder Rosa was, as good as that was, I don't know if it's going to really be better. This is going to be pretty fucking good between O'Reilly and Adam Cole. And our thoughts are with Britt Baker, who's probably going to be freaking out during that. Thank you for that, Dylan's Gaming. Pete Dunne versus Kushida. Did I miss that one? I didn't have that one. Thank you. And Ryan Rhoda, thank you for informing me about that as well. You guys got the night on that? I don't have the night written down. I don't know how I missed that. I think I went to I didn't go to WWE.com. I went to Sports Illustrated or something and got the match listing. So I might have a discrepancy up in there. But anyway, let's discuss SmackDown briefly from last night. Only a few good things here on this show, but we did have some more set up for WrestleMania. Edge opened the show with a promo, and of course last week he kind of snapped, went ape shit on everybody with the chair, laid everybody out. So he was, a lot of people considered that kind of a heel turn. I kind of did too. Very intense promo, talking about Daniel Bryan and his opportunity and trying to take it away from him. And he had a very kind of Diesel 1995 night after Survivor Series 95 promo when Diesel, said, I looked in the mirror and I finally saw myself. It was kind of the same thing. He goes, I looked in the mirror and I finally saw the rated R superstar. I finally saw the ultimate opportunist, somebody who will do anything, no matter what it takes to win. And I saw that, and you fucking guys are in trouble. So pretty good opening stuff there from Edge. We had the Alpha Academy, Dirty Dogs defeating Mysterios and the Street Profits in an 8-man tag. Nothing to talk about there. The Seth Rollins and Cesaro promo wasn't that great either, because I think, Cesaro is awesome and I really want big things for him, but I don't know if his strengths are really face-to-face, dramatic promos. His strengths are in other areas. Seth Rollins' strength is in his suit game. That thing was ridiculous. I don't even know how to describe the suit. It's becoming one of my favorite things to look forward to every week on SmackDown, is to see what Seth Rollins is wearing. But overall, with all the things the two of these guys have done, I've mostly liked it. Wasn't a huge fan of this, what they did last night. But the previous shit, like the week before when Cesaro was being spun backstage, and then the week before that, when Seth was being spun, and the week before that when he was as well, that was all great shit. Just not so much here. The Sami Zayn, Logan Paul stuff was great. Now, I don't give a rat's ass about Logan Paul. Don't know anything about him. Which is the one that fights? One of them's fighting the MMA guy, right? And he knocked out Nate Robinson. I don't know if that's Logan or his big dumb brother, but anyway, Logan Paul was out there. He didn't do a whole lot, but he's been invited to SmackDown on social media by Sami Zayn, who the two of them have been interacting a bit on Twitter. The way it looked to me is that Sami Zayn, just for fun, was tagging Logan Paul and shit. And then Logan thought it was real and kind of responded okay, I'll take a look at it. And then maybe they immediately contacted him no, this is all a work. Why don't you come to SmackDown? That's kind of the way it seems like it was to me. When all this was happening on Twitter, it looked like Logan kind of fell for it. Oh man, I'll take a look at that conspiracy. And then I think he was kind of smart enough that was going on. I could be wrong about how that came together, but that's the way it seemed like to me. Sammy, if it weren't for Seth Rollins, he would have had the most fly outfit of the week, because he was hilariously dressed and looked marvelous, screaming, sweating, his hair. Sami Zayn is one of my favorite people in wrestling. He's so fucking great. Brings out Logan Paul, thanks him for being on the show, goes on to invite him as a special guest to be at WrestleMania in his corner against his match, or in his match against Kevin Owens, which Logan Paul agrees to do. So Logan is now set for WrestleMania, like I give a shit. And then Sammy goes on to present the big trailer. So we see this big, long trailer about his conspiracies and whatever. It doesn't really offer a whole lot, but it is really well put together. At the end, Logan Paul doesn't seem that convinced, and he's like, well, and as soon as he's about to kind of let Sammy down, Sammy's attacked from behind by Kevin Owens, who hits him with a stunner and says, if I have to do this every week to knock some sense into you, that's what I'm going to do, and I'm definitely going to do it at WrestleMania. Big shout out to Kevin Owens, WrestleMania 5 themed t-shirt. He did this for Jericho too. He had the WrestleMania 2 one when him and Jericho had the match a few years back. I love Kevin Owens doing that. Because really, him and Sammy are getting to have this WrestleMania match together. I'm so happy for them that they get to work together at WrestleMania. It's got to feel pretty good for them, and I'm looking forward to that match a lot. I don't know if Sammy's really going to release this documentary and what sort of conspiracy proof we're going to see, but this was all pretty funny. Even though I don't give a shit about Logan Paul and people like that, probably young kids know who they are, but I don't. He didn't really cause any problems. He pretty much just, he was fine. He wasn't he was taking it seriously. He wasn't being a goofball. He wasn't talking too much. He certainly wasn't being like LeVar Ball or some other asswipe they brought out there. He was just kind of going along with it. So I don't think his presence really harmed anything. It's just another, another outside celebrity influencer rub that can attract a certain particular audience member, of which I am not. So we'll see how Logan Paul fits into everything in the Owens and Sami Zayn match at Mania. We had like a minute-long match here with Natalya defeating Shayna Baszler, which was just a terrible match. The only good thing about it, and props to Natalya, I know I give her a little bit of shit sometimes on the channel, but she is Bret Hart's niece, correct? And we love Natalya. We love the Hart family here. And even though I thought the match was stupid, even though I think it's ridiculous that Shayna Baszler has lost like 8 straight singles matches in a row on TV, which is fucked up too, they did the perfect Bret King of the Ring 93 finish with the small package reversal. Kind of like that. Throwback to her uncle. Everybody got involved in this. We had Tamina, of course, out there with Natalya. New gear for Tamina, which I think looked really good on her. After the match, Nia Jax, who was on commentary, she attacks. Tamina gets in the ring. Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose run out there, and Lana and Naomi. So we got all these women running out and joining the fray and brawling, which is nice because it seems like we actually have a women's tag team division in the company right now, which is crazy. And we might even have another tag team added to that because later on, we had Bianca Belair defeating Carmella. I haven't seen Carmella wrestle a match since the Royal Rumble. Great to see her back. But then after the match, Billie Kay gives Carmella her resume backstage and little tease there that they might become a tag team. Yes, I know it's stupid to break up the Iconics and just put them with other team members, but ain't nothing I can do about that. Carmella pretty much is in terms of a title contender, has kind of ran her course there. She had her shot and everything at the Rumble. Put her in a tag team. Make good use of her. She'd be good, and her and Billy might turn out to be kind of entertaining together. So I'd actually be all for that team if they put them together, Carmella and Billie Kay, and it adds another team to the tag team division. Somebody's got to take those belts off of Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. I am tired of them as champion. Then we get a backstage promo from Apollo Crews. Of course, he's set to challenge Big E for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania, but he wants this to be a specific kind of match. What match, do you ask? A Nigerian drum match. What's y'all's favorite Nigerian drum match? I think mine is Razor and Diesel, probably. WrestleMania 11. Nigerian drum match for the Intercontinental title. Great stuff. It's going to be hard to top that one, but that's interesting. This is just another way of making it a no DQ. So you're going to have a lot of shit out there, probably a lot of Nigerian drums and some other stuff, but really all this means is it's a match where you can do whatever you want. So that could change things. I don't know if Apollo's going to take the title or not. I guess maybe he can if it's his own match and he's got this new gimmick. I'd hate for him to lose his gimmick match right when he changed into this gimmick. I don't know. Might not be good for him. So we'll see. Like I said, predictions next week. Main event was a pretty good street fight between Daniel Bryan and Jey Uso. We had Edge on commentary during the match. In the end, Daniel Bryan taps Jey Uso out with the yes lock. After the match, Edge is still sitting there on commentary. He's about to answer a question from Michael Cole, and Daniel Bryan just comes flying in and hits Edge with the running knees with his headset still on and everything. He goes flying back, hits the fucking barricade, and Bryan attacks him. Roman Reigns has been observing and watching the match the whole time on this ramp, and Bryan goes up and attacks him too and locks him in the yes lock on the stage, and Roman is screaming. I think he might even have been tapping. And then Daniel Bryan gets in the ring and just does the yes thing as the show goes off the air. So Bryan had his big moment here, kind of on the go home. Like we talked about last week, I'm all for Daniel Bryan being added to the match. I don't think it's an automatic 1,000,000% guarantee that he's only there to take the pin. I know it sounds very fun to say that because everybody says it, but it's not totally guaranteed. I think anything and everything is on the table at this point. Yes, he could be there to take the pin. WWE giving Edge the belt 10 years to the day from when he had to retire is actually a pretty nice story. So if they want to keep Roman protected in the meantime and have Bryan take the pin, is there anything really wrong with that? I don't think it's anything wrong with it. We give Edge the big moment. You keep your big star Roman protected, possibly even send him over to Raw. If you really want to shake things up after WrestleMania, lots you can do there. But I'd also be equally as happy if Daniel Bryan shocked the world and had a repeat of WrestleMania 30 and won the fucking title. From both of those guys, I'd love it. But based on how strong he looked here, when you do the math, feels like he probably will not come up on the winning end at WrestleMania. That moment will likely belong to Edge, but at this point, I think Edge is still in the lead in terms of likelihood, followed a little bit by Roman, and then I think Bryan in third place, actually, but I'm still not ruling him out of winning the title. WWE doesn't want to make everything predictable, and maybe they can swerve us. Why not? I mean, shit. They pinned The Undertaker when he was supposed to beat Brock. They beat Roman Reigns when he was supposed to beat Brock too. So I think there's potential. And I had mentioned even prior to, for those of you who remember, way back in January, before the Royal Rumble, when I predicted Edge to win the Royal Rumble, I said, I'm not convinced that if Edge wins the Royal Rumble that he will beat Roman Reigns for the title. I think there's a really good chance that Roman can continue to roll and just beat the babyface and squash the dream, squash the fairy tale, do something that Brock did a lot, you know, kind of really squashed fans' dreams every now and then. I think that's more is more ingrained in reality than the storybook, you know, fairy tale ending for Edge. So I'm not against Roman retaining. I kind of low-key hope that he does, but we'll see. Interesting main event nonetheless on night 2, and should be fun. So here's what we got for WrestleMania. At least what we got right now. Please, like you did with TakeOver, help me out and let me know if I missed a match here somewhere. On night 1, we've got Drew McIntyre taking on Bobby Lashley for the WWE title. Sasha Banks defending the SmackDown Women's title against Bianca Belair. The New Day defending the Raw tags against AJ and Omos. That should be fun. We've got Braun Strowman against Shane McMahon in the cage match. That was the stip that genius Braun Strowman picked there. We got Bad Bunny taking on The Miz and Cesaro taking on Seth Rollins. That's all set for night 1. That's pretty good. 4 of those matches are going to be great. Shane, Braun, Cage, Bad Bunny, Miz. I don't know. The other ones should be a lot of fun. Night 2 is stacked. Of course, we've got Sami Zayn taking on Kevin Owens. Logan Paul will be in Sami Zayn's corner. Randy Orton on The Fiend is on night 2. That's going to be nuts. Riddle's defending the U.S. title against Sheamus on night 2. Big E's defending the IC strap against Apollo Crews in a Nigerian drum match. Asuka defending the Raw Women's title against Rhea Ripley. And Roman Reigns defending the Universal title in a triple threat against Daniel Bryan and Edge. That's all set for night 2. And of course, we got the SmackDown Tag title and the Andre the Giant Battle Royal taking place on SmackDown. And no word on the Women's Battle Royal. Are we not getting the Mae Young Battle Royal, or what do they call it? What the fuck they call it? I guess we're not getting that. Bummer. Maybe they add it last minute. I don't know. But hey, I'm with you, Chad. I mean, or Chatty. At one point, I thought Roman should keep the title till SummerSlam, but there is a way now to get the belt off of him without beating him if they wanted to. That option is there now with Bryan in the match. I just, I kind of hope WWE does something a little more fun. We'll see. All right, let me knock out the rest of these super chats, and then I got to bail out of here and head to work. Daniel Mendiola, thank you very much, dude, for the $10. Just got Peacock, but the problem now is that my Samsung TV doesn't support it. Now I have to figure out how I'm going to watch the Mania because I don't want to watch a 2-night show on my phone. Oh, you're DM23. Oh, good to see you, DM. I got you. So your Samsung TV doesn't support it. You don't have like a app search option there that you can search for Peacock? If not, pick up a Roku. That's what I use, a Roku streaming thing. Buy one on Amazon, maybe $30. You can stick it right in the USB port in the back, and then you can have your apps like YouTube and Peacock and WWE Network and all and everything on there. I use a Roku on all my TVs. So my suggestion is do that. They're not that expensive. You got time to get one sent to you, I'm sure, prior to WrestleMania. But that would be my suggestion. Get a Roku or take other people's suggestions. Some people watch this shit on video game consoles and stuff. I don't know anything about that, but I usually watch WrestleMania either right on my desktop computers, which I have 2 of them, or Roku app on my TV. Best of luck, Daniel, figuring that out. Make sure you're here with us for the watch along and review too. Appreciate Cerebrus Corpse 97 with another 5. Thank you so much. Logan is a good dude. Did some dumb shit back then, but he's good now. Jake Paul is going to get slumped by a 40-year-old Olympian wrestler in a boxing match. So Jake Paul is the one that's fighting the guy. Okay. One of them showed the dead body in the forest too, right? And it was one of those fuckers that did that. So yeah, that's not content I even watch on YouTube, but I've never really seen Logan Paul or heard him talk. I think I've seen his face, but I've never really seen him do anything. Based on what I saw on SmackDown, he didn't bother me too much. If I watched a YouTube video of his, I'm sure I'd throw him up everywhere. But in terms of what we saw of him last night, didn't really bother me that much. But anyway, oh yeah, that's right. Deshaun Robinson, props to him. We saw the story over the weekend that when Roman Reigns was tapping, he wasn't tapping out. He was doing Morse code. That explains it, because I knew that he wouldn't tap. So when Brian was making him squeal and he was tapping, it was just Morse code. We had it wrong. He did not tap. Respect to the tribal chief. Ratnick says it's not available on Samsung or Amazon for the Peacock. But yeah, get a Roku or something like that. That would be my suggestion to you, my man. And that is going to wrap it up for me. I got to get out of here and head to work. Hope you guys have a great holiday tomorrow, whatever you're doing. This channel will be dead tomorrow. Nothing happening tomorrow, but Monday, everything starts. After Raw, we'll be up here for 8 consecutive days of WrestleMania week streaming. You guys have a great afternoon. Thanks very much for being here.